continues to weaken, so we continue to see less and less in volume. Let's go back over to the other WSI. We're just going to run off of WSI. Friends, 61 mile per hour wind gusts peaked out at Orlando International Airport, 52 60 Daytona Beach. But of course, in your neighborhood, we may have seen winds higher than that. And remember, we have been so wet. We are obviously very wet now, that those gusts, those sudden gusts, could really do some number on these taller, older laurel oaks that are around Central Florida. One other element is with all of the rain that's falling, while your neighborhood is accumulating it, it's going in and it's draining out to our lakes and to our rivers. And so we're already working into flood concerns. This is the St. Johns River at Astor, and there's not a ton of people that live there. That's in rural West Volusia County. But notice the St. Johns gets into major flood stage for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Looks to be cresting at about 4.4 feet. So there's another about foot or so more to go from where we are now. So obviously there is a building concern there. This is the St. Johns out near Lake Harney. This is into Seminole County. And you can see that water level still over the next few days as everything starts draining into the tidal basins and estuaries here. You see that 7, 9, 10 foot. All right, so we're really rising the water. So definitely flooding concerns. There are obviously flash flood warnings in effect for significant areas around Central Florida. We're going to go get some fresh data. We'll get back to you guys at the desk.
All right, thank you, Eric. When this started 11 hours ago.
I was gonna say, when was that?
Yeah, it was 11 hours ago. We had sent Dave McDaniel to Tampa because we thought, and that was what the projection was that was going to be ground zero for this. Yep. Thankfully, it was not, and he's still there.
Yeah, he is. He has been riding out the storm in Ybor City. So, Dave, you have seen the weather change throughout the last 24 hours. Is it raining by you now, or is this one of those lulls?
You know, as a point of order, I know you said 11 hours because that's how long we are into this shift. This started on Monday. I might want to remind you when we were down on Bayshore Drive right along Tampa Bay there talking about all the possibilities for Tampa. But yeah, we're in Ybor City tonight. Things are calming down. There's very little wind at this point. The rain has really gone down to just basically a mist. Obviously, we have debris in the street from some of the earlier wind gusts that we had and some of the driving rain. So far, at least in this part of the historic section of Tampa, it appears that the storm drainage is working well. There's not a lot of water in the streets. Of course, as soon as I say that things have calmed down, we've had a gust of wind and things are picking up a little bit, showing again how the storm just continues to come around and around and around. And every time you get a band of energy out of that storm, things will change just a little bit. But again, the power is still on here. That's a good thing. The hotel where we're staying, they took as a precautionary measure this afternoon. They actually said you could no longer ride the elevator after 2 in the afternoon. They shut the elevators down because what they did not want to do is have anybody get on an elevator, have the power go out, and they thought there was very much a potential that they might lose power in this part of Tampa, and then you wouldn't be able to, you'd be stuck between floors. And if it happened at a time when the weather was really bad, you know, the first responders will say that if the weather is at a certain level, they want to respond, but they just can't for their own safety. So they shut down the elevators, said you can't use them, you have to take the stairs, just to make sure that there was nothing that would go wrong, and thankfully nothing did, and we still have power this evening. But again, we've had a few people come through. You see somebody going through right there, but for the most part, the majority of the traffic this evening in Ybor City has been the Tampa Police Department, making sure that everybody is all right, making sure that nothing is out of the ordinary, and making sure that order is maintained in the city of Tampa. Reporting live in Tampa, Dave McDaniel, West 2 News.
Yeah, Dave, before you run off, you've been out there all day. What's the most remarkable thing you saw or did?
Well, I would still say that the water getting drawn out of the bay is amazing. Even though we know it's happened before, it happened in Irma, but, you know, it's interesting. 2 powerful storms, obviously Ian more powerful than Irma, but 2 completely different paths. You know, this one came in the southwest Florida, came across through Polk County, and then it's going to go out probably Brevard or Volusia County. Irma came in a little bit farther north than that, and it kind of split the difference between Tampa and Lakeland, and then kind of bent around to the north of Orlando. But yet those 2 storms, different paths, different energy levels, all did the same thing to the water. It just shows how powerful hurricanes can be, how much they can do. It kind of reminds me, I covered Andrew back in 1992. It took us a couple of days to make our way into Homestead because the devastation was so great there. One of the things I'll never forget in 43 years of reporting was driving down, heading toward Homestead, looking over at a distribution plant for soda. There are 18-wheelers on top of the building upside down.
Wow.
And that was clearly the energy in Andrew. And that's an image I'll never get out of my mind. And also I remember I interviewed the city manager in Homestead. I may have the numbers a little off, but I believe he said in the interview from all those years ago, 30 years ago, that before Andrew they had like 10,000 mobile homes in Homestead, and on that morning they had 10. 10,000 to 10. Those are the numbers that really kind of always stick in your head.
Yeah, numbers. And the numbers that mean people, too. Yeah.
And we've been meeting people.
Yeah,
Thank you
of course,
so much,
absolutely.
Dave. We appreciate your time and your dedication. We've been meeting people throughout the evening here for various reasons, people at shelters, people walking the streets, but also we've been meeting people who have suffered some hardship during this storm, and we saw one of those situations in Apopka.
Yeah, this is kind of bizarre, actually. Tonight, Geber Geddes is there on the scene for us, and tonight it started with kind of a crack and a boom.
That's right. And you know what? One word, thankful. That's what the family that lives in this house is telling us today. And when I step out, you'll see exactly why. An uprooted tree is now resting on their house. But the mother, the daughter, and all the pets living in the house are all okay. They're not sure how this might have happened. It's really soggy out here, obviously, with all this rain coming down. So that probably played a part when the root plate tore apart from the soil. There's a car parked outside the home. You'll see it's covered with some debris and branches from the trees. Since it's dark out, it's hard to tell how much, if any, damage has been done to this car. But under the advice of the fire department that came out here earlier when this happened, the family will not check or try to move this car only until the sun comes up so they can have a better look at it, because they're not sure what's possibly resting on the car, so they don't want to move it just yet. Take a look at some video that will give you a better idea of the damage inside the house. It's raining in their home now. It's a leaky mess in their storage room and a bedroom in there. Fortunately, the mom and the daughter were not near the back of the house when the tree toppled over, since it happened in the backside, but the tree cracked the ceilings, and it's basically coming apart now, which is causing all the leaky mess in there. And the family is renting this house. So the tricky part for them right now is who will be responsible for this mess. They're not sure if the tree was standing on their neighbor's property or the property or their own property. So the insurance question will have to be addressed come tomorrow, and when Ian passes and they are able to come out and clean up the mess and rebuild. But all in all, as you can imagine, this is a miracle to them. They're still shaking from all of this, but the thing they're most grateful for is that they still have each other and they're okay. So we spoke with the Williams, who had this to say. Take a listen.
Just so thankful to the powers that be, that neither she nor I were on that side. Our dogs weren't on that side. They're all in the TV room with us because they're freaked out by the storm too, you know. And thankful. That's all I can say. Just so thankful.
Now, we're on Palm Vista Drive in Apopka, and Jim, you were asking me this earlier, if there are power lines in this neighborhood, and I did ask Patty about that, and she says there are no power lines in this neighborhood. Their homes has underground utilities within the Palms, so right now, aside from this is a headache for them, obviously, but they're just so happy to be alive. They have shelter still. They can be inside while the storm passes through, and they have food, and they have power. So they're just grateful to have all of that. Back to you guys.
That's a perfect attitude to have in this situation. Tonight, have you seen similar scenes or just kind of a messy state of affairs out there in your travels through Central Florida tonight?
Yes, earlier we were in Seminole County and we saw 2 incidents of trees falling over. There was one on Seminole and Orange County line. It was on I-4 between Maitland and Altamont Springs, and Seminole County crews were out there responding because a tree fell over, it blew over, and they wanted to remove that. And that was earlier in the evening on Wednesday night, I should say. And then after that, there was a tree that kind of similar to this. It fell on top of a house, and this happened in Seminole County and Altamont Springs as well. Fortunately, everybody was okay. The family was well, but they had to work with the Red Cross because they needed to find another shelter since they had to evacuate, and that caused an electrical fire. The flames started spreading into their attic, and crews had to come. We were told 10 units from Seminole County Fire responded, but although it was a quick attack, it was a quick response. They were able to put the fire out within about 15 minutes, and the family is okay, but it's just a mess out here. Even when we were driving on the roadway, a lot of debris, a lot of tree branches, and it's soggy, it's wet, but it's great to know that although it's a scary sight that when trees are falling over, especially when they're impacting homes, but it's great when we're hearing that everybody is okay. Yes, it's unfortunate a family had to leave their home. This family is going to have to deal with this when the sun comes up, but all in all, we know that safety is important and their lives are what matters to them most.
All right, Sanait Gebregadis, thank you so much. She is live in Apopka for us tonight.
Now, our Anika Hope found something startling in another massive case of gratitude on her patrols on the streets. In Pearson, in Volusia County, a car hit a downed tree, and let's just say that the car did not win this battle. We have some video of this that we want to show for you. Thankfully, the car that was involved in this, it was okay. Emergency crews were able to arrive and assist. Now, here's the tree, and this tree was down across State Road 40 right near the Lake Volusia County line, and that is a 55-mile-an-hour, two-lane, no street light, out in the middle of nowhere place. And this family, a father and his teenage daughters, were on the road on their way to Miami to visit with some families. The tree was across the road. They didn't see it. Look at this car. I mean, the car is a mess.
It is destroyed.
It's an absolute disaster. And all three people, the father and the daughter, are just fine. It turns out that our crew had been right down the street, no more than maybe a half a mile away at the marina, and were just leaving to go to another place to see what else was going on, and kind of stumbled into that situation. And it was right after the accident took place. And I have this vivid memory of Anika walking up to the father, and he's stunned. And
of course, yeah.
For obvious reason.
It's terrifying.
I mean, he's driving along thinking, this is going to be over soon, and the next thing you know, he's wearing a tree. And it was pretty bad. A couple of other cars pulled up at the same time. Anika was the one who called 911 from the scene, and it was fast. I mean, this law enforcement response was fast. And we've been talking all night about if you're out there, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Well, that was pretty remarkable from that situation there. And eventually, enough crews came and kind of stabilized the scene, stopped other vehicles, and there were other vehicles from getting around either side. And we understand that the family that was in the wrecked car, that arrangements are being made for them to get to their final destination.
Yeah, because they were trying to go to Miami. They had their bags packed. They said it was getting rough where they were, and they thought it would be safer to get out of Dodge, and so they packed up the car, hit the road, and then ran into this tree. And thank God they also ran into our crew, who helped them immediately and helped them get to the proper authorities and gave them shelter while they waited as well.
So much trauma. I mean, you just see it on everybody's face.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
We do want to give you an update now to some power outages. As we've been seeing all these images of downed trees and down power lines, we are dealing with a significant number of power outages. So we do want to bring those to you. So in Florida, total, more than 2.2 million power outages. Brevard, we have 31,000, Flagler, 4,000, Lake, 17,000, Marion, 2, and Orange, by far the most in our area, more than 90,000. We have, Polk County, 154,000, 18,000 in Osceola, Seminole, 44, Sumter, 1,043 in Volusia.
Really good to see you two. Welcome aboard.
Hi,
good morning.
guys. Good morning.
Yeah, a lot has changed. It seems like we are, with this storm, we're a little bit or a whole lot farther along with it than we thought that we would be at this time.
Yeah, which is great to hear, and hopefully that rainfall clears out too. But it really just came in, and it pounded Central Florida, seeing a lot of rainfall, lots of wind, and that's going to continue at least throughout the morning hours. And then as this moves out, clearing up slowly.
When I was settling into bed at a ripe 4 p.m. yesterday, you know, looking at the newest model continuing to show this torrential rain piling up, that was my concern. And we heard from the Deputy Director of the National Hurricane Center yesterday. He echoed that, and now we're seeing that playing out across Central Florida. That continues to be a very real and developing threat. So even though the storm system itself will move off the shoreline, there's a tail of rain that will be staying put over top.
And Eric, I feel like you're very good about not hyping things up too much. And I did see your post when you posted it, and I shared it. I said a little note from Eric Burris, because you're always telling us we're going to keep you calm, we're going to give you the information you need. And I did see that, and you know, I take it seriously when you say something like that. So you're helping us get through the storm. You're going to be on now for the next 12 hours. We're going to keep going with this coverage, because even though it's sped up, we're still in it, right? Right.
So you're tracking where the rains are right now, including some very heavy downpours and gusts.
Yeah, most of this is moving through Orange County, Osceola County right now. So we're going to watch for those rain totals to pile up even more with that heavier band of rain moving on through. And of course, we still have those flash flood warnings in effect that will go in effect at least throughout the early morning hours, and most likely more to come as well.
So the projections that we had been talking about yesterday and into today of some neighborhoods maybe getting 20 inches of rain, are those, do you think some of those are still on point?
It's quite possible. We're not there yet, but we could certainly get there, especially if some of those heavier rain bands linger around. I mean, the heaviest stuff right now going through our central communities, northern spots, still seeing a steady stream of rain. They're going to be feeling those effects into tonight. So it's going to start to clear out later tonight into our southern locations, but northeastern spots, Volusia County, Flagler County, I think as we go into tonight, they'll still feel some of those effects.
To put it in perspective real fast, there's already some spots in Orange County, more rural eastern Orange County, that the radar's indicating 12 inches of rain has fallen, and there's still so much more rain yet to fall.
Wow. And can we talk about the eye? I know a lot of people focus on the eye. That's not a thing anymore, but that doesn't mean that it's not still a threat, correct?
Oh, yeah. So the eye's collapsed because this has gone from a major Category 4 hurricane down to what is essentially a lower-end hurricane tropical storm. And the eye denotes a powerful storm in categorical sense, but as the eye collapses, it spreads out, becomes this massive rain event, and kind of broadens that wind. And you can tell that there's wind by looking at the power outages, right? Yeah. You can tell that there's rain by looking out your window.
Do we know when it's going to dip down into a tropical storm territory, or we have no?
We're getting there. Yeah, okay. Little by little.
All right, just curious.
Yeah.
All right, are you guys taking it away with the forecast right now?
Yeah, we
okay,
can. We'll show you what it's like out the door.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much still dealing with all of that rainfall. So let's get straight to first warning radar, where we have a heavy band of rain now moving towards downtown Orlando. And as we get sandwiched in between St. Cloud and Kissimmee, another heavy band of rain is pushing on through. So let's go down to street level. So right around Kissimmee, St. Cloud actually seeing some lighter rainfall, but another batch of heavy rain is stretching your way. Kissimmee, Celebration, 192. These areas are starting to see the heaviest rain, but then you go in Orange County, Meadow Woods towards Lake Hart, Narcoossee Road, the 417. This is where we're seeing that heavy rain just sitting there, trying to lift towards the north. It will eventually and move towards Orlando, but right now we're seeing it mostly into southern Orange County. Bithlo, Christmas, Wedgefield, all heavy rainfall, also pretty much paralleling the beach line. Then as we go towards Titusville, then down to Port St. John, seeing some rainfall as well. Let's go into Volusia County, New Smyrna Beach, Oak Hill, Scottsmore. Light to steady rainfall, heavier batch of rain is just sitting off of the coastline. This is moving from the coast and is going to push onshore, so we will eventually see this move into Volusia County, and with more heavy rainfall on the way, it's just going to be a stream of heavy rain. Marion County right now, Sumter County actually seeing the lightest rainfall as Ian continues to cut across central Florida. So not dealing with a lot of heavy rain right now, but certainly some steadier pockets are moving in. Again, mostly focus along Orange County and also into Volusia County. So still watching this very closely. Again, also those rain rates have really been impressive. We're starting to get into the white color scale on our radar picture for the rainfall total. So almost let's say it's about 17 inches of precipitation just outside of Polk County, directly cutting across the area. 12 inches in Osceola County, almost 12 inches in Orange County. It's a fine line between 12 inches to about 10 inches of precipitation. Originally, we were thinking it's going to lift up towards the north. This was earlier this week and give most of the heaviest rainfall to the northeast. Now it's cutting across the I-4 corridor. We're going to have much more on the rainfall totals and the wind gusts coming up in just a few minutes. Jim and Michelle.
Well, far and away, the person with the most eventful night on the WESH 2 staff has been Anika Hope.
Yeah, we just told about her ordeal that she went through, meeting people out on the roads. Anika, you are still driving our roads. I hear you're heading to downtown right now, and we did get some reports of damage in the downtown area. Have you seen anything as you've been driving?
Yeah, we're on I-4 right now, and I can tell you it is incredibly gusty right now as far as the wind, and the rain is really coming down. We'll give you a look at the roads right here. It is really bad out right now. Fortunately, we've only seen a few cars pass us because it is not conditions you want to be on as far as the roadways right here. And I will let my teammate, sports reporter Zach Maskovich, speak with you because he is the one behind the wheel right now, driving and keeping us safe in these conditions. And we could really feel it right now.
Yeah, this is by far the strongest winds that we have dealt with right in the downtown area. We're heading eastbound on I-4 right now. And when we were coming from Seminole County in towards our studios at Winter Park, it was really calm and the winds weren't blowing. We were getting minimal rain. And then as soon as we passed the WESH 2 studios is when the rain and the wind really picked up. And right now it might be at its worst that we've seen all night long. And obviously we saw a pretty big tree get knocked down out in Volusia County near the Lake County border. So things don't seem to be getting better yet. So again, if you haven't left your house, don't. Our 12-hour shift is almost up right now, so we will be heading back indoors, and we plan to stay there until we have to work again tomorrow. So things are starting to get worse around here as we get towards Orlando. And like I said, the winds are swirling right now. I think we're looking at the roads. I can't see what the camera's looking at, but you can see the water that is laying on the street just blowing all around. Some of the light poles are kind of wobbling a little bit. So the winds are definitely picking up here. The rain is picking up. Hurricane Ian is not going anywhere anytime soon, it doesn't seem like.
And I would just say, you know, that feeling when you're in a vehicle and you can feel the wind on it. We're in a pretty large one right here. We're in the WESH 2 Weather Lab, but we can definitely feel it moving around a bit. So that is a good reason to avoid being out right now. But we'll send it back to you guys.
Yeah.
I know exactly that feeling, the little sway when you're on the road and you go, whew, it's windy out there.
Big old suburban style vehicle, so it's gonna take it. It's gonna take some buffeting, but it's gonna hold the road.
Yeah.
So they're good. We think they're good.
So the message here is if you're even in a smaller vehicle, you will definitely feel that wind blowing you around.
For sure.
Okay, we're going to continue our live team coverage. Darren has been braving the elements for us in Orange County. I see you still have your hood up, raindrops on the lens. Give us the latest on the weather by you, Darren.
Yeah, hey there, Michelle. We're in Winter Park at the Orange County Emergency Offices, and these are the worst conditions we've seen tonight, frankly. The rain is coming down, the wind is shifting back and forth, almost in a serpentine move. But yeah, the conditions are really going down. If you look at the flags, I mean, we've seen the flags whip a little bit. They're moving now. So these are the conditions that we thought we would see. Chief Lauralee Avery told us in the 12 o'clock hour, hey, we expect things to be awful, basically, from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. If you're at home, stay at home. Don't come out. At this point, it is too late to go to a shelter. You're much better off just staying home, staying put. You're much safer. Don't get out on the roads unless you absolutely have to. And that's kind of what they've just told us all night long. And I think we're really starting to see the effects. I'm looking at the parking lot. The wind is just whipping through. Cars are being pelted. I'm being pelted. So certainly we're feeling more rain. We're feeling more wind. And this is exactly what we expected. So stay home, stay bunkered in, stay informed by watching WESH 2, and hopefully this will all move through quickly. They did say the power is expected to go for most of Orange County. I don't think it all has gone yet. That's a good thing. But if it does go, try to be safe. Use the battery-powered lights. Use your cell phones. Don't use the the candles unless you have to. Sorry, it's been a long day. Because if there is a fire or any type of emergency situation, crews may not be able to get to you. If the wind gets high enough, fire trucks can't get out on the road to come and help you. They can if they will, but if they can't get through because of the wind gusts, there's nothing they can do. So we'll see how the conditions continue to go until we check in next time. Live in Orange County, Darren Stoltzfus, back to you.
Yeah, he sounds like he's getting pelted out there.
Oh, absolutely. It sounds like it's coming down so hard. So, Darren, have you seen people out? Have people been milling around you?
We've been in the emergency center basically the entire night, so we haven't been out and seen the exuberant people or the, I forget how Dave McDaniel described those people in Tampa, just the excited people on golf carts. So I'm not sure exactly what the roads look like at this point, but I can tell you it's getting nastier and nastier as we're here. So hopefully things will improve in the next couple of hours.
All right, Darren, appreciate the effort and the live report. Want to take you out to the beach line, 528 near Narcoossee for a live look at the scene. And this actually should be,
Whoa.
we were sort of anticipating this. This is sort of in the thick of things. And actually, I'm looking over at the radar and trying to look back over here at the same time. And I'm just distracted by what I'm seeing. But yeah, there's a couple of pretty heavy rain bands that are in that area of East Orange County right now. And that's a pretty good thrashing that's happening right there.
Yeah, when you see the yellow and the red and the orange on the map, you know that they're getting it. We do know that the city of Kissimmee says that emergency crews are not responding to any emergency calls right now. So they tweeted just before 2 a.m. that with sustained winds of 45 miles per hour, it is not safe for Kissimmee police or for fire crews to respond to calls. And this is the warning that we've been giving you over and over again. This is why we've been telling you not to go outside if you don't have to, because they don't want to put their people at risk by trying to save you, because they were warning you that the storm was going to be bad and to get to a safe place and to shelter in place. So now that they are at that 45 miles per hour, that is the threshold where they say we're not going to go out right now. We just need to wait. And it's unfortunate because people don't always listen, and this is the reason why they do that.
Right, and this has been a consistent message across all law enforcement that we have been hearing. So yeah, we just wanted you to see that and hear it from us one more time. Let's go down to St. Cloud in Osceola County. This is going to be, I believe this is the video from near the downtown area, and that actually doesn't really matter because it's all kind of happening the same down there right now. Also that's another place that is very close to where the rotation of this storm is taking place. It's just a little bit south of here right now. Heavy rain, water from this is just basically in a neighborhood. This is just kind of a random shot. Somebody stepped outside and tried to get some video for us and shoot it safely, send it in. And I would say mission accomplished, but yeah, it's going to take a while for that to dry up.
And Jim, I think we just got some updated numbers from power outages. So let's take a look at these numbers. So, even more throughout the state. So 2.3 million now people without power. And we're going to run down the list of the counties. So we have Brevard with more than 52,000, Flagler 4,000, Lake County nearly 19,000 people who are in the dark tonight. Marion County just over 3,000, Orange County 97,000 people. We also know that Polk County has 163,000 people without power. Osceola 18 in the dark, 18,000 in the dark. 51,000 people in Seminole County, 11,000 in Sumter, but Volusia 50,000. And Jim, I think one of the important messages that we heard tonight was from FPL, where they said that it's not going to be just restoring their grids, it's going to be replacing. They're going to have to do some major work on their power grids and get people back online.
There's a couple of counties near where Ian made landfall along the Gulf Coast, 3 in particular that were hit very hard. One of them basically has 100% of the power knocked out, and the ones that are surrounding DeSoto County, that's the one that I'm talking about, are anywhere from like 50 to 70%, and that 230,000 number, 2.3 million outages. I'm a math major, can you tell? 2.3 million, that is 10% of the state population.
Yeah.
So 10% of eligible power recipients in our state don't have it right now.
I know, and we just keep telling them to be patient, and the worst part of it is we're not through this storm yet. Let's get over to meteorologist Eric Burris. Eric, what can you show us right now?
All right, so what we're doing is we're looking at the live radar as it stands at this point, and you've been alluding to where the storm center is. It's in southern Osceola County, and because of its positioning, we're just getting all of these tropical downpours funneling in. Those yellows, definitely torrential, but when you get into the reds, I mean, that's the kind of stuff only tropical rains can put down. And I also want to preface this by saying that the radar looks a lot less intense than the actual rain is. And I only say that because for whatever reason, and this is just my personal observation, are in tropical scenarios looks less impressive. The downpours are just so much more than they are on a normal day. So if it's not necessarily red in your area, like if you live in Sanford right now, that yellow has some real rain rates to it. But you can see from downtown Orlando off to the east, very, very heavy rain. This is the remnants of what was at one point the eye wall structure. But in downtown Orlando, Winter Park, right up and down Interstate 4 here, very, very heavy rainfall. But you head out toward UCF, toward Avalon Park, toward Wedgefield, Bithlo, Chuliota, Christmas. That's where we're really picking up the intensity, okay? 35-mile-per-hour winds, 28-mile-per-hour winds. That's going to be working into Winter Park, Maitland, Orlando, down through Pine Hills, and Williamsburg in short order. Further to the north around Chuliota, Scottsmore, and Titusville, 35, 30-mile-per-hour winds wrapping in. Titusville, it is just pouring, just pouring. You're talking about 30 or so mile-per-hour winds working in with higher gusts, certainly. Up into Volusia County, New Smyrna Beach, Oak Hill, Edgewater. Well, we're missing the bigger push of wind, which is out here, but that's more like a 25, 30-mile-per-hour wind. And Ormond Beach, same idea. We're working with about a 30 or so mile-per-hour wind. So our live radar is hard working, tracking it all for you. But that said, so much rain has already fallen down. Here's Kellyanne Klass with that.
Yeah, and Eric, you know, we're still watching those flash flood warnings. Most of these go throughout the early morning hours. The last one to expire as of now is in Orange County and Osceola County. That goes until 4:45 this morning. Most of the heaviest rainfall has been featured where these flash flood warnings are right now. So again, we're watching from about Volusia County, Brevard County, Seminole County, all the way down to Orange County, Osceola County, and Polk County. This is where we just had a stream of rain moving across the area, and we're still seeing all of that rainfall very early this morning. Now, I want to talk about where exactly we could see the rainfall begin to clear out. So let's show you a little bit more exactly where. I just want to show you that the flash flood warning does include the metro, and we've seen just areas flooded with rainfall, and it does include the eastern portions of Seminole County. Now, most of the area from I-4 and Northwest is not included within this, but still know that you could come across some localized flooding. Okay, let's go through Futurecast. Let's time it out hour by hour for you. So here's a look at where we are right now. This is going to stretch up towards the northwest, or northeast rather, as we go through about 6:30 in the morning. Notice Flagler County, Volusia County, we're still seeing all of that heavy rainfall up and down I-95, even some heavier rainfall, tropical downpours across I-4. This is still going to continue to see that wraparound moisture throughout the early morning hours. It will take some time to clear, but we think that the core of the storm will slowly lift off by late morning and early afternoon and out into the Atlantic. Now, once the core of the storm lifts out of the way, we're still going to be dealing with those lingering impacts along our coastal locations, but we should see that rainfall clear from southwest to northeast throughout the day today and tomorrow. We're going to have much more on the timing of this rainfall, of course, take you hour by hour and talk much more about our local impacts that we are seeing right now coming up in a few minutes.
Kellyanne, thanks. We had talked about actually, Tony had given us some information earlier about 2 hours ago about a wind gust in Daytona Beach, 81 miles an hour. We think that's the top one so far. And it just so happens that we had someone pretty much right in the way of that 81-mile-an-hour wind gust.
I have to say, I feel like Gail Pascal Brown has gotten the worst of this weather in terms of our crews tonight. Yep. Let's send it back out live to Gail. Gail, your shot has looked the same every single time we've tossed to you. It feels like you haven't had a break.
I know, but we're going to get one soon, I tell you. Michelle, you can see that the wind has picked up yet again here in Volusia County. Wind has been no joke. It has been relentless. And you know, when you have wind like this, you're sure to have down power lines as well as, you know, trees. So I want to go now and show you some of the road closures that we got a list of, and that some of the road closures, obviously, that Volusia County firefighters and other folks are working on. If we can go to that list right now. Sorry, my phone just went black. But as you can see, there are a number of streets there south in Volusia County, as well as DeLand, and even the bridges too, that as far as the different locations of the there we go. Here's our list back up. Sorry about that. Some of them are South Clara Avenue and DeLand, South Kingsbury Road, East Minnesota, North Boston Avenue, Lakeshore Drive, Live Oak, and of course down by the bridges. So back here live now, you can understand that why they're working so diligently to get these roads right. Another reason to stay off the roads, as Darren alluded to earlier, you don't want to get caught up in this mess. You certainly don't want to get caught up in this mess in Volusia County or anywhere else. I'm Gail Pascal-Brown reporting live in Volusia County for WESH 2 News.
All right, Gail, thank you. And just because Volusia County has clearly gotten a lot of the storm doesn't mean that other areas aren't seeing it as well. We heard that there is some damage in downtown Orlando.
Yeah, we weren't really sure about it. It was just kind of hearsay stuff, so we sent WESH 2's Amanda Dukes down there to check it out. And Amanda, what did you find?
Well, I have something to show you. You know, Orange Avenue in downtown Orlando, because of the tall buildings, it can create in a storm sort of that wind tunnel effect. We are definitely seeing that tonight. I can't even imagine what the wind gusts over there. And now here's the big reveal. I'm going to step aside and show you the damage that's been done. That is the stoplight at Livingston and Orange Avenue, and as you can see, it's been bent. The entire heavy metal arm on which the stoplights are mounted has come down. It's lying in the middle of Orange Ave. The lights are still working, but that's the kind of winds that we are seeing in the Orlando area tonight. Now, of course, as I said, the effect is a little bit exaggerated here in Orange Ave, as it is in any city center where you have tall buildings. It kind of creates a little bit of that wind tunnel. But what also is interesting is normally in a situation like this, you would have police out here. They would be blocking off the road. Look at that wind gust. Wowza. But there's nobody out here. They are not going to even attempt to address that until this storm is over, because frankly, there'd be no way they could address that right now. You can see the speed and the ferocity with which the wind is blowing down here. So again, this is at Livingston and Orange Avenue. We're told that this happened sometime, I think, after 11 o'clock tonight, and no sign of any police or city workers out here, as well there shouldn't be, because it would be too dangerous. But wow, the winds are really whipping down here, and that's just evidence of how strong this storm has been and some of the damage that we are seeing. Live in downtown Orlando, Amanda Dukes, WESH 2 News.
I have to know what you were thinking, because that's like one of the more surreal things that I've seen. Not only is the whole stop arm down in the street, but it's still working at the same time.
Yeah, it has power.
That's really crazy.
Can you guys hear me?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't, my earpiece was cutting out for a minute. No, I know, that is crazy. That was the first thing we noticed as we were coming up on the scene and came down Orange Ave. I said, James, the light's still working. I mean, there's no point to it still working because nobody's going to be driving down the road. But yeah, it's still working. But it's pretty amazing that that whole metal arm just bent like that. I have no idea what wind speed these are constructed, you know, to stand up under. But I mean, you can see just by looking at how the trees are whipping, the rain is whipping, we're having some pretty intense gusts here. So I'm not surprised that with that sustained wind that something like this did happen. But you know, it's interesting looking at the buildings down here. It does look like people, for the most part, still have electricity. You can see lights on in a lot of the high rises. So it doesn't appear that there's any major power outages down here, but we'll see what happens in the coming hours. Guys?
Amanda, stay safe out there. We appreciate you bringing us that report. The visuals that we're getting now are just absolutely incredible, and we're really starting to see the damage. And you know that even tomorrow, we're going to see even more. I think we have some flooding to show you now. This is also in Orlando. This is in the Azalea Park neighborhood. It might be tough to see. This is just a still picture that it appears someone sent into us, but you really get the idea of just how much water and how much rain we are getting from this storm. And this is what we have been warning about. This was really going to be a rainmaker, and it's what it's becoming, and it's what it is.
Yeah, this is one of the older neighborhoods in Orlando, and it hasn't really been subjected to flooding, at least not that much. More of a drainage situation than anything else. So I'm a little surprised to see this happening here.
Really?
Yeah, I am. I want to head out to, this 408 at Alafaya Trail on the east side of Orlando, and you just see waves of rain just kind of washing over the highway there, heading from the left side to the right side on your screen, and a couple of them dancing around and getting onto the front of the lens. It's on out there right now. It's tough out there.
Yeah, this is happening right now in our area. We do want to show you, though, we've been seeing down trees across our area, but obviously we are not the only ones to see this. We have some down trees to show you. I think this is out of St. Petersburg. Yeah, so take a look at this. I mean, just giant trees toppling over and taking those power lines right down with them. Obviously, power outages across our state. Currently, police officers in this area are deployed, and they're reporting to damage that's blocking the roadways. So maybe in that specific area, the winds have calmed down enough where it is safe to start going out and assessing the damage and trying to clean stuff up over there. That's not the case in many areas in our Central Florida area. But at least in St. Petersburg, it appears that the police officers are deployed to report to some damage there.
All right, head down the coast a little bit to Fort Myers Beach, and actually Fort Myers was right there where Ian basically came ashore. Hit a small island first before making landfall, really a second time at Fort Myers, and this is right in the middle of the storm. Actually, you can sort of tell. I'm not sure if this is the guy who was shooting from his house. No, I think this is different.
Yeah, I think that's a different person.
Right,
yeah.
but you can still see just how it was to the Gulf there, to the sort of inland little waterway there, and this is just I mean, that's just chaos right there.
The winds are whipping there. We also want to take you to St. Augustine now. So Central Florida obviously isn't the only place that has seen the effects of this. Jessica Clark has more on the widespread flooding in St. Augustine.
On the bayfront in downtown St. Augustine, Florida, where Ian is approaching. The waves, the wind right on the bayfront. The bayfront waves are slamming over the seawall. You can see even some cars that parked here along the street are starting to really flood. Because let me explain, what you're looking at is not just the bay with a bridge going across it, but all of the water that has now covered the entire road here that goes through the main part of downtown St. Augustine. High tide is just coming in. We could see this water rise even more this evening. In St. Augustine, Jessica Clark.
Still way too early to really assess the damage that the storm has wreaked on the Gulf Coast of Florida so far, or even in other neighborhoods that are around. It's just too early, and there's still too much going on.
Yeah, but they're already saying that this could be one of the most destructive storms to hit our state. You know, it did hit as a Category 4, but it's worth noting it was just shy of a Category 5 with like 155 mile per hour winds. So we want to go now to Chris Pallone, who's in Tampa, and he's going to show us what happened there.
When Ian arrived in southwest Florida, it came with a vengeance.
Oh, my gosh.
The hardest hit areas all located close to Cayo Costa, where the eye made landfall Wednesday afternoon. Its intensity and duration has initially prevented a full accounting of what's been lost.
We don't even know exactly what we faced just yet. We know we've been hit very hard.
Ian roared ashore, packing 155-mile-per-hour winds, just shy of a Category 5. But it was the storm surge in places like Naples and Fort Myers that did so much of the damage, leaving entire neighborhoods underwater and cars bobbing down the street. In Naples, firefighters scrambled to salvage their gear when their fire station flooded. Ian even spawned tornadoes as it approached.
All of a sudden, I felt something and then heard like a train coming right through the house.
The storm's fierce winds even pushed the waters of Tampa Bay out into the Gulf of Mexico, exposing the bed below. Now, as people in other parts of Florida and the Southeast prepare for Ian's arrival, the state's governor tries to put it all in perspective.
At a minimum, it's going to be a very strong Category 4 that's going to rank as one of the top 5 hurricanes to ever hit the Florida Peninsula.
And it's not done yet. Chris Pallone, NBC News, Tampa.
So we want to talk about where we are right now and where we're going to be heading soon. And I think one of the things that we are fixated on as we watch this map and the radar especially is that this beautiful round symmetrical storm with a well-defined eye is a ragged mess right now.
Yeah, basically, I mean, the core of the storm right now is moving through some of our southeastern locations. And you could still see on radar that twist and that turn, but you just don't see an eye from the visible satellite that we'll get those images later on this morning. But you know, it's still a very strong storm. We're still seeing a lot of wind gusts exceeding about 50, almost 60 miles per hour in some locations. And on top of that, just the flooding rains.
And each wave of that wind hits a tree a different direction, and it, you know, it's like it beats up on these trees, and we have such beautiful old oak trees, and you know the soil is so damp now. It's been wet these last few weeks. You hit it in the right direction at that right speed, you get it to come down on power lines, and that's why we're trickling those numbers up.
Eric, I think one of the questions everyone has is, when is it going to be out of here?
Give it another 12 hours. You know, the next 12 hours are just going to be a soggy mess. The center of circulation is going to be offshore later this morning. But, you know, 12 more hours of just rain, 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 and then we'll be able to... Listen, the most important thing, this weekend, sunshine, okay? So
I feel like we can't even think of that yet.
That would be great.
Let's just set that stage, okay? You'll be able to go to the beach. You'll be able to sit outside. You'll be able to clean up the mess, you know? But there are sunny days ahead. We just have to wait a little bit longer.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a pretty wicked combination, though, of very heavy rainfall and relentless winds. It's just, it's really tearing things up out there.
Absolutely. And, you know, it came on so quick, you know, early, 12 hours ago, we were talking about tornado warnings, right? And now all of a sudden we're talking about strong wind gusts, heavy rainfall, and that rain is going to linger. But, you know, we are expecting a pretty decent setup tomorrow. Drier conditions for most, just watching those lingering effects along the coastline.
And Kellyanne, you mentioned something interesting. You know, when I was watching you guys 12 hours ago before my shift, we were in tornado warnings, and we really thought that was going to continue throughout the day. It's been relatively quiet. What happened? What would cause it to not be as active as we thought?
It's all in the trajectory. Okay, so the spin, it's called vorticity. Makes sense, right? But the most spin in the atmosphere is on the right front quadrant of the storm. So we tweaked that cone over the last 12, 24 hours further and further to the right. So instead of it going right up I-4, it's kind of going across State Road 60, for lack of a better term. So that right front quadrant never quite shifted into our area. The Palm Beaches, the Treasure Coast, they had a ton of tornado warnings and plenty of tornadoes, but that axis never moved in, which for us is a good thing. For South Florida, certainly it wasn't.
We kept talking about a turn also when we were talking about the similarities between this storm and Charlie. Did it ever do the turn that Charlie did?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the turn.
This one was steeper.
Okay.
Right? So Charlie kind of started making that right turn and ended up going up I-4. This one is like, no, we're going to go right. Right.
Yeah. And the elephant in the room is flooding, I guess, because moving forward, that's still kind of the hardest thing to get a handle on.
Absolutely. It's going to take some time for some of those floodwaters to clear out. So even when the storm's gone, you still just need to be aware of where roads are flooded. If you're experiencing flooding because you never want to trek through those waters, we have interesting pests, gators, everything here, so you never know what's going to be in those waters.
And Jim, what direction does the St. Johns River flow?
North.
So if you've got a ton of rain in South Florida, ending up into the Everglades, which run through Shingle Creek, Kissimmee, you know, all of this trickles up. So just because the rain will have ended does not mean that the St. Johns will stop rising. Okay, so that's a developing concern.
Well, and the thing about the river too is that it's shallow. It's not a deep river. So when you're talking about rising, it's more spreading out than that, and that's, I think, the insidious part of this. What, 4 feet at Astor?
Right.
Does that sound right?
And it's going to go up to 7 if memory serves.
Which is crazy.
So if you've ever driven on 415, you look like you're in the African Serengeti there when you get from Seminole to Volusia County. That's the floodplain, and I guarantee you these next few days it's going to, instead of looking like the Serengeti, it's going to look like you're driving in the Keys because of all the water around.
Wow, it is absolutely incredible. The images that we're getting are just mind-blowing. We want to take you now to, I think we have some video from Naples where they had some damage. And Eric, what were the storm surges over in Naples?
Naples was 12 to 16 feet, right, Kelly?
Yeah, almost 16 to 18.
I mean, look at these videos that we're getting. I mean, so this is,
wow.
I know, isn't it wild? And we've just been seeing this all over. So this is street flooding. You could see the cars, the lights are flashing. The cars are almost fully submerged. It is absolutely wild. We also, I think, have a house a house fire. Do we have this video coming up? Is this also from Naples? Nope, this is just more street flooding. Okay.
There's video from people down there on their second floor balconies looking down. At the water building up to the soffits on the first floor.
Wow. Okay, so this is the firehouse.
This is the firehouse, yeah. And this same crew walked out the front door of the firehouse and rescued a guy who was out taking pictures.
Even they can't
like
escape
a professional photographer, yeah.
And they still did the rescue?
Yeah, they still did the rescue.
Yep.
And the only thing that they would say bad about it was that it was cold.
Sure.
Yeah. The water was cold?
The water was cold.
Oh, yes, of course.
That was if there was a complaint, that was it.
And they're walking in this waist-deep water, which is what we're telling everybody not to do. They're professionals, and they kind of had to do it in this situation. Right. Leave that to the professionals. Okay, so look at this. This is people on a jet ski. They're literally jet skiing in the streets of Naples. This is the kind of flooding that we're dealing with here.
Those are the same people that were wading through it earlier. This is part of the firefighter group.
Okay, so this is all the same?
Again, we don't recommend it, but if they're the trained professionals, so we'll give them a pass this time.
Unbelievable. Is that all the video we have coming? Oh, no, we
do have that.
This is what we see a lot. We see transformers blowing all the time in hurricanes. Look at the explosion on this one. This is also in Naples, and it's not surprising, I don't think, that all of this video is coming from the same area, especially because of where this area is and, and the hit that they took.
But they didn't, they did not get the eye of the storm.
No.
So just all of the video that we're seeing is still well removed from that actual core, that actual worst damage.
Well, yesterday you and I were looking at live video feed out in Sanibel Island, out in Captiva Island, and you could just see the palm trees pretty much at a 45-degree angle, and at times you couldn't even see the palm trees.
We were watching a camera that a storm chaser had mounted to a pole, and he noted that was 8 feet off the ground.
Wow.
Okay, and it was submerged when we ended our shift. So at that point, you just kind of imagine that was Fort Myers Beach, if I recall, right? Yes, it was. Yeah.
And Kellyanne, you were just talking about trees this way. Take a look at this. Look at this stop sign. This stop sign is completely sideways. And that's the kind of powerful wind that we're dealing with this storm.
That one has just surrendered.
Yeah.
That's it.
No,
It just just gave up. And we'll get a little closer to home here now, take you up to Sanford, Lake Monroe. They've done some really nice things with the lakefront up there. They've extended that path, walkway, jogging trail, whatever you want to call it. It's really nice. It used to be just a seawall, and I have strong visions of several storms where the waves would crash against that thing and send cascades of water up into the air. Not quite to that level here today. And the other thing about Lake Monroe, it's huge. I mean, it is huge, and you can usually see the weather coming from the west from a long way away.
Now you point that out. The winds were not lining up for that overspray yet. Give it sunrise today with a north wind shoving all that water onto the Sanford side. You're going to see at least bigger pops of wave action. It's all about the wind direction.
All right, guys, we thank you so much for your input and going through all this video with us and kind of explaining why they got the conditions they did. We do want to go out now to WESH 2's Christina Watkins. She was keeping an eye on things in Brevard County. She was at the Emergency Management Center, and she filed this report for us.
Beach throughout the day. We've been from the Emergency Operations Center at Rockledge. We've been to Titusville at the Titusville Marina, checking out conditions there. Now we are in Cocoa Beach, where this is pretty much the brunt of the storm. We've heard our team of meteorologists talk about what you are seeing at this very minute. Strong winds right outside Cocoa Beach Fire Station number 51. Take a look at the flags. That gives you an idea of just how powerful these winds are at this hour. Thankfully, though, despite what we are seeing, some of the debris we've seen in the roads, the winds up, the rain heavy, it's really starting to pick up. In fact, down the street from where I'm standing, emergency leaders told me that there was a transformer that blew. There was a downed power line at a home. Thankfully, though, no reports of anybody getting hurt. That van you just saw driving down here in Cocoa Beach is something you are advised not to do throughout these overnight hours, even first thing in the morning, because we are still going to be in the thick of the storm here in Brevard County. Let's talk about some other impacts we've seen from the storm over these last several hours. Emergency leaders tell me, of course, they are seeing flooding in neighborhoods and in people's yards. They said strong winds ripped off a roof